Just when you thought the left couldn't get any worse, they do. This is frightening beyond belief. I can't even believe what I'm reading here. So there's a new, well, I shouldn't say new. There is a emergence of how do I even explain it? So if you Google Truth and Reconciliation Commission, you will discover something that has been done in other countries, mainly South Africa, and that's the model that they want to use for the United States. And let's be clear, what you need to understand of what a Truth and Reconciliation Commission is an excuse to basically destroy your political enemies. This is just an elaborate cover to go after Trump supporters. It's elaborate. It's an elaborate game that is sick. It's sick in the head. It's not. It has no place in the United States. It has no place in a representative republic. It has no place in the US of A. It's not what our country is based on. We don't. This is not how the USA works. This is how an evil country I would never want to live in works. So South Africa is their example, right? So I don't know if you knew about apartheid, but apartheid was a terrible thing that happened in South Africa. And Nelson Mandela was well, rather than going into a history lesson, let's just say black people were given the short end of the stick for many years. Then black people rose up, and now it's a very different thing in South Africa. It's actually reverse. Now the whites in South Africa are actually the ones being oppressed and being segregated and being treated as less than members of society. They've actually so Nelson Mandela was a great guy, and I really doubt that he, it would be like saying that Martin Luther King had a dream, and then his dream gets twisted into, instead of all men are equal, to black men are superior, right? So Nelson Mandela would never have wanted to see where South Africa has gone. He didn't want any ethnic color, ethnic majority, whatever, to be over another. But now it's just flip-flopped in South Africa, and he'd probably be very sad at the state of its country as to where it's gone. Anyway, the Democrats have gone so lulu, so crazy, so fucking insane that they actually think that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission model of South Africa is exactly what we need in the United States, because the only thing it would do is give them some sort of leverage or some sort of smokescreen to go after you and me. It's nothing more than an excuse if they win the election, of course. If they win the election, then they can use this smokescreen to come after you and me, to silence us, to make us apologize for supporting Trump, to teach us how wrong we were, and if we don't comply, to throw us in jail for our non-compliance. It's the most crazy authoritarian tactic that should make anyone fearful, because this type of shit right here is the rabbit hole that you can't go down. Because once, how do I put this? So 2020 has been a fucking disastrous year, right? It's been a year that most of us believe can only end in civil war. That the presidential election is just going to be the spark that's going to set off a civil war, or we have already been in a civil war. It's just not the traditional civil war. It's kind of a lukewarm civil war, but a war of framing and ideas and media and the internet and tribalism. It's a culture war. So one could say that we're already in it. However, this is escalating that already festering sore to a whole new extreme. When you can start when you create a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, now you've decided that you have the right to shut down the other political party. Well, if you propose that, right? If you propose to shut down the right, is it not sensible to believe that the right might think, well, they want to shut us down. Maybe we should shut them down. Maybe we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to get rid of the crazy leftists in the country, because they're the cancer. They're the rot that's destroying our country. You see where this is going here. This same rabbit hole goes both ways. And by opening the rabbit hole, you open the rabbit hole for both sides. Now let's read the article, shall we? In January 2009, days before his inauguration as the 44th President of the United States, President-elect Barack Obama sat down for an interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos. Obama was asked directly if his administration would appoint a special prosecutor to investigate George W. Bush's administration officials who participated in illegal detention and torture. Obama said, "I don't believe that anybody is above the law. On the other hand, I also have a belief that we need to look forward as opposed to looking backwards." How have the Democrats gone so far astray? So, yeah, there was an issue there, right? It wasn't like anything that's an issue in 2020. 2020 makes this look like child's play, right? The country was not being torn apart at its seams when this happened, and for the most part, it was lower-ranking officials that would have taken most of the heat for what would have happened, and Obama was exactly right in just moving on. It wasn't like Bush himself did these crimes. Unlike Biden, who's actually... Oh, Jesus Christ. Unlike Biden, who's actually freaking... as corrupt as they come. He's unmasked Flynn. He's made millions off of his office through backwater channels via his family. The Hunter Biden emails have been proved now. They have been verified multiple times, multiple sources, different reporting agencies, not just the New York Post, not just Fox, but now it's there's several other reporting sites that have jumped in, as well as the FBI has confirmed that the emails are legitimate and that they are not Russian disinformation. Not just that, but the intelligence agencies itself. Ratcliffe went on and said these things are real. So the email investigation is not Russian disinformation. However, is it the smoking gun that it seems to be? I don't see how it's not, but there should be a legitimate investigation done. Well, there should have been a legitimate investigation done because the FBI was given this information a long time ago, and they sat on it and did nothing, which is a whole nother investigation in and of itself, because the FBI is already in hot water for their shenanigans with Trump and trying to spy on his election. I mean, so that in and of itself just dwarfs whatever Obama looked past. There's not even a comparison on how much corruption is in the swamp right now that needs to be removed. But here's Democrats pointing a finger that Obama was wrong, and we'll continue on. So he refused to prosecute Bush administration officials engaged in human rights violations. May have been smart, moderate politics for a deeply divided nation, but allowing torturers and their enablers to blend seamlessly back in with decent society was a moral failure, writes this person. So let's be 100% accurate here. There was political fallout about what was happening. There was not illegal fallout. So these people you're calling out as being torturers, etc., were simply following their directions. And of course, the media here, this writer, is trying to spin something up, right? She's trying to paint a narrative that's more than what it was. Anyway, let's continue on. The depth of that failure has only grown over time, Right, because Obama didn't drain the swamp. This is bizarre. So the right now this is the Dem story saying that since Obama didn't drain the swamp, now it's working against them. Okay, so the depth of the failure has only grown over time. Many of the legal apparatuses who made torture possible still wield power today. Take, for instance, Gina Haspel, the current director of the CIA, is the former head of a black site where torture went down. Yeah. The same CIA that worked together with the FBI to spy on the Trump campaign is the same CIA that this leftist writer is angry about. Right? The swamp needs to be drained, she's saying. The current director of the CIA is the former head of a black site where torture went down. The fact that she's allowed to hold power today is an indictment of our country and our commitment to human rights. Moreover, failing to hold accountable those who abuse their power signals to future abusers that all will be forgiven. It tells people in power that they can commit atrocities while they hold office because nobody will be coming from them when they're on the other side. Wow. Do you hear? Do you hear what she's saying? I mean, every single conservative, every single voice in sane America can say the exact same thing about the Obama administration and the current swamp that is keeping anything from happening. But of course, right now, they're trying to spin this into the Trump swamp instead of the Obama Hillary Clinton swamp that it is. It's a mistake that Obama's Vice President Joe Biden cannot be allowed to repeat. This is bizarre. Unfortunately, even as the current election still rages, with no conclusion expected for weeks, if not longer, some elites are already circling the wagon around the morally bankrupt concept of amnesty for President Trump and his administration. Amnesty for President, because what did he do wrong? He's been investigated more than any other president in history, and they've found nothing. The Russia collusion was a hoax, and it's been nothing but nonstop investigating of the man. He's got to be the most innocent man in the world, because he's had the entire United States of fucking America investigating him for the last 4 years. While he's the actual president. It's just this bizarre, weird world we live in. The sitting president is being investigated by every intelligence apparatus under the sun because he's a Russian agent, says Adam Schiff. Hey. Anyway, I'll continue on. Sorry, I'm getting off course here. All right. Some elites are already circling the wagons around the morally bankrupt concept of amnesty for President Trump and his administration. Over the weekend, Harvard professor Jill Lepore published a piece in the Washington Post saying that Trump should not be investigated for crimes should he lose power, but rather history should be his judge. He hasn't done any crimes. The widely shared article argued against a post-World War II style Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Oh, a World War II style, not a South Africa style, as was pointed out by CNN. Okay, sure, World War II style then. as has been proposed by by Pocahontas, to investigate wrongdoings by the Trump administration. That's rich. The core of Lepore's argument is that functioning democracies have other means of holding the likes of Trump and his enablers to account. Yeah, okay. Lepore writes, democracies have all sorts of other institutions that do that. Investigative journalism. Investigative journalism. Oh, my. You mean the journalism that has been anti-Trump for the last 4 years? That investigative journalism that has been Russian collusion in plain sight. That journalism? Okay. Yeah, normally it would be sort of a functioning check and balance because it would inform the American people, but it doesn't inform the American people. Journalism is broken. It is the most broken institution in the United States, and if there's anything in the US that needs to be fixed, it's fucking journalism. But I digress. A functioning judiciary. The judiciary is fine. In fact, it's finally improving. We're finally starting to get rid of a bunch of these jurists who have been misusing the Supreme Court to make laws, right? The Supreme Court is there to interpret laws. That is the purpose of the U.S. Supreme Court, is to interpret the laws that the legislature makes. Congress and the Senate. The Supreme Court's job is not to make law. It's to interpret the laws that the House and the Senate create, right? Yes, that's the job of the Supreme Court. However, the Supreme Court hasn't been doing that for the last 12 to 30 years. The Supreme Court has been making law. That's not what the Supreme Court is supposed to do, but that's what Dems seem to think the Supreme Court is for, is to make law that they want, right? They use their judicial activists to make their law instead of doing it the proper way in the House and the Senate. And why don't they do it in the House and the Senate? Because Republicans tend to hold them to account, right? You can't just have your wish list of everything you want. You have to compromise, which is something Nancy Pelosi doesn't understand. She has no concept of compromise. Democrats don't seem to have any concept of compromise. Anyway, so now we're finally going to have a Supreme Court that's not a bunch of activists. We're going to have an actual Supreme Court that's going to be interpreting law as it's supposed to do. But what's the problem there? There is no problem there. It's only getting better. So let's continue on. Legislative deliberation and action. Well, legislative deliberation and action is something that you could do. There's nothing stopping Congress from legislating other than Nancy Pelosi. That's the honest-to-God fact. She's the one that didn't want to go to work for most of the last year. But you're blaming it on Trump? What? And action and dissent itself. In the United States today, those institutions need fortifying, not bypassing. How are they being bypassed? They're not being bypassed. The problem is that every single one of the institutions she lists has in some way failed during the Trump administration. How? They're all working fine. If fail means that you didn't get your way, then that's a very extreme version of what failure is, right? Trump is elected for 4 years. The Senate's Republican. It is more than customary for him to nominate a Supreme Court jurist. Nothing wrong there. That's the way it's meant to work. But you're going to claim that's a failure? That's not a failure. That's how this country normally operates. You just don't like the result, so you're going to call it a failure. What are some of the other failures? Oh, how about your Russia collusion, your impeachment, right? You made this foolproof case. So again, I'll try to explain how the government's supposed to work. In an impeachment, the House is the one that calls the witnesses, formulates the argument. They do all of that stuff, right? They're like the trial. The House is where the trial happens. And the Senate is basically the jury, right? So the House is about making the trial happen, and when they're done, when they have finished with their process, that is the end of the trial. Then it goes to the Senate, which is basically the jury, who then decides by voting on what took place in the House. Well, the House all of a sudden decided that they needed to do their job. Well, it was in the Senate. Remember you didn't let us call witnesses. That's not what you do in the Senate. That's what you do in the House. Why did you send it to the Senate? You know, it's all of this bullshit that they're spinning, but there was nothing there. That's the ultimate problem, is that there was nothing there. There was no there. Trump did nothing wrong. In fact, we're finding out that it's actually the reverse, that it was the Obama administration who initiated a very bizarre investigation of the Trump administration, the oncoming administration, right? And the bureaucrats left behind in the FBI continued to go after Trump even after he became president, which is just bizarre. It's like nothing that's ever happened before. And Trump did nothing wrong. In fact, they concocted, they created evidence in order to make Trump look like he was guilty. It's just incredible what they went through. But that's a failure of what again? I don't understand the failure here. I guess you have to be a crazy leftist to understand the failure here, right? Journalists have failed to report on Trump accurately during his first campaign. Well, yeah, that's true. Journalists haven't reported accurately on Trump at all. We're in agreement with that, but for completely different reasons. You actually think that journalists somehow have been on Trump's side? What world do you live in? I'm sorry, you're not making any sense here. The judiciary does not function as a reliable check, as both the state and federal systems have been stacked with Trump-aligned justices. Oh my God. Cry more? I mean, if we were playing a video game, I'd be like, cry more, noob. A legislative deliberation is a joke of a concept in a country that can't even pass a COVID-19 relief bill. Yeah. Again, Nancy Pelosi? Hello? She's your 80-year-old nut job who hasn't allowed a COVID-19 relief bill to go anywhere. But you're going to try to point that on Trump? He doesn't do the legislation. That's Nancy Pelosi's problem. She's the wicked witch that's fucked us. And dissent itself has been manhandled and brutalized under his administration, with Attorney General Bill Barr and Acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf deploying stormtroopers into the streets to tear gas and pepper spray citizens exercising their right to protest. Okay, full stop. Here we are. They're literally defending Antifa right now. And Black Lives Matter and the burning downs of businesses and the killings of people, that was all fine, right? But it's the stormtroopers that are the problem. Wow. And those stormtroopers did nothing but defend a federal courthouse, mind you. We need a form of truth and reconciliation commission precisely because our normal institutions have failed. No, our normal institutions haven't failed, you lunatic. That's the problem. Your mind has fucking failed. You're so blind with your TDS or whatever the fuck is riling up your brain matter and making you not be able to think like a logical person that you actually believe this bullshit that you're sprouting. We need to understand how that failure happened, who is responsible, and who should face justice. You hear that? You and we need to face justice for being Trump supporters. That is what's being said here. When a plane falls out of the sky, we don't just shrug our shoulders and say, gravity has consequences. We send a team of experts to pick through the wreckage, figure out exactly what went wrong, and hold people accountable and make recommendations for future safety. Oh boy, what a horrible, horrible, horrible metaphor that didn't even... I'm just gonna read. We send in experts after disasters, not just for vengeance, but to make people feel safe again. Wait, what? We send in experts after disasters, not just for vengeance. I don't even understand this statement. FEMA gets sent to hurricane relief for vengeance? How? I don't even understand where... What? The reconciliation part of a commission is just as important as the truth part. Yeah, the truth part. The truth part is where you have it all fucked up. So, they really believe the mainstream media propaganda. They believe the mainstream media propaganda so much that they're so fucking lost. They're so lost and confused that they can't even make sense anymore. I don't understand. I don't understand how so many people can go so nuts in 4 years. It blows me away. It blows me away how there can be so many people that are so blind to the rhetoric, that are so blind to the bullshit they've been shoveled from mainstream media, that they actually believe it. We still have to have society with these Trump people. Oh my God. You know, these Trump people are far more sane. These Trump people are far more far less unhinged, far more willing to have a conversation. We're not the people running around burning cities down. We're not the ones trying to change our country. We're not the ones that hate the United States. We love our country. We like to show our love for our country. We put American flags in our yard. We put an American flag bumper sticker on our bumper. We support the cops and we support the troops. And what do we get for our normal patriotism? We get called white supremacists. We get called every crazy name under the book. If you wear a t-shirt with American flag on it, random crazy people holler at you. And you just look at them like, what world is this? But we're the ones that need to be fixed? We're the broken ones? I just, what makes these people tick? How are they? Wow. We still have to have a society with these Trump people, and that can't happen until we understand what they've done and feel measures have taken to protect us from them again. They need to be protected from us. Oh, you have no idea. Yeah, you do need to be protected from us because we have had it with you. You're so nuts. You're beyond nuts at this point. We can't even take anything you say seriously anymore. Toward this end, perhaps the main benefit of some kind of commission on accountability I can't read this, is that it would allow the American public to reckon with the abuses and violations committed not by Trump, but also by his many enablers. Wow. Barr must be brought to justice for turning tear gas on peaceful protesters so that Trump could take a photograph with an upside-down Bible. Yeah, okay. Keep drinking that Kool-Aid. Former Homeland Security Secretary Christian Nielsen must be held accountable for her role in kidnapping children, sending them to concentration camps, and then lying to courts about what she was doing. Okay. Keep drinking the Kool-Aid. And every single person who decided to let people die from COVID-19 instead of helping those who live in blue states, including presidential son-in-law Jared Kushner, must be investigated and held to some manner of justice for the lives they snuffed out. I need to read that one again. I really have to read that one again. Okay, and every single person who decided to let people die from COVID-19 instead of helping those who live in blue states, including presidential son-in-law Jared Kushner, must be investigated and held to some manner of justice for the lives they snuffed out. I'm going to read that one more time. In fact, Yeah, I might read this about 6 more times. And every single person who decided to let people die from COVID-19 instead of helping those who live in blue states, including presidential son-in-law Jared. Wow. Why did blue states have so many more deaths than red states? It's not because we let it happen. It's not because us evil conservatives didn't try to help you. Trump moved heaven and earth to help you. It's your idiot governors, Gomo, the witch in Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, who actually thought it would be a good idea to stick COVID patients into old folks' homes. In what world does that make sense? In blue state world, evidently. But you're gonna write that us, conservative people in red states, we let you die in blue states? Our well-managed states, red states, that didn't have anywhere near the deaths of your blue states, we're the ones that let your mismanaged blue states down? We're the ones that told you to stick the COVID patients into the nursing homes? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Wow. All of these moral and ethical failures need to be investigated. Oh, yeah, you're right. Gretchen Whitmer should go to jail, as should Como. They should both go to jail for at least 10 years. For how many lives that were lost due to their incompetence? It didn't take a rocket scientist to know sticking COVID patients into nursing homes was a bad idea. Anyway, all of these moral and ethical failures need to be investigated, and that's before we get into the actual statutory crimes potentially committed by Trump. Oh, really? His administration, his enablers, and his family. Trump, and likely his daughter Ivanka, appear to be tax cheats. Oh my god! Yeah, it might appear that they look to be tax cheats, but they're not. Wow. So the tax thing has been debunked several times over, but they can't. Senator Richard Burr and Kelly Loeffler appear to have traded on inside. Yeah, you're right. Kelly Loeffler does look like she traded on inside information. Richard Burr might have. But it's convenient how you left out the Democrats who traded on the inside information along with them, like Dianne Feinstein, for one. But I don't see her name in this list. Just the 2 Republicans that were pointed out. But there were 4 more Democrats that went along with those two Republicans. But their names aren't on this list. What the fuck? And what does that have to do with Trump? Rudy Giuliani is in so deep with foreign operatives. Oh, God. Here we go. Who are trying to manipulate the election that he comes close to admitting to treason every time he butt dials Olivia Nuzzi. Wow. So, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the National Intelligence Administration, the Director of National Intelligence, all agree that the Hunter Biden emails are legitimate and they are not Russian disinformation. And this quote-unquote spin campaign mainstream media is trying to do to make Rudy Giuliani look bad is a sad attempt to try to save Biden. Let's remind people, Rudy Giuliani is the person who took down the mob in New York. Rudy Giuliani is America's mayor. He was the mayor during 9/11 that kept New York running. Rudy Giuliani is the person who took the New York crime rate and made it disappear. Well, at least it was gone until the new clown is in New York now, destroying New York again, but I digress. And he's a Democrat, mind you. And let's not forget that 7 former Trump officials or advisors have been criminally charged during the last 4 years. You mean, let's not forget that the Trump campaign was illegally investigated and crimes were created by the FBI who manufactured evidence, but Trump's the one that should be in trouble, not... Wow. Oh boy. History will remember Trump, but it will forget about Steve Bannon, Rod Rosenstein, and Stephen Miller. Lepore claims to be arguing that our democracy is strong enough to ignore criminal activity by the Trump administration. But what she's really saying is that our democracy is too weak to seek equal justice for all. I would like to see equal justice for all. I would like to see Hillary Clinton actually get indicted for her emails. I would like to see that the FBI people who were so anti-Trump that doctored evidence, lied to Congress, etc., actually be held accountable for the shit they did. I would love to see the deep state get its due. Would love to see it. Lepore would let all these additional criminals off the hook in the name of comedy with the Republicans who voted for their boss. This way of thinking incentivizes future Republicans. No, this way of thinking just covers up all your crime. Oh my God. Assaults on the rule of law by treating the Republican Party as too big to fail. Her justification for this manifest injustice is this, but the Trump administration is not Nazi Germany, nor is it a nation defeated in war. Tell that to somebody who has lost a loved one from COVID-19. Tell that to some of the 200,000 people still expected to die from the disease between now and the first of the year. Oh, really? That's an interesting lie. Let's think about that number. Use some common sense here. When did COVID start? For our country, probably February. It started in January, but for all intents and purposes, let's say February. So that's the second month. What month are we in? We're in the 10th month. We're almost in the 11th month, right? We are 10 months into COVID with another month to go. In 10 months, we've lost a little over 210,000 people. But somehow in the final month, we're going to lose another 200,000 people? We're going to lose as many people as we lost in 10 months? You've been doing Joe Biden math, evidently. I mean, why not just say 200 million people are going to die? Wow. Go lean over their hospital beds as they gasp for oxygen and tell them future historians will judge the people who decided you could die because Trump won't win Illinois. Wow. Tell that to a woman who has been raped by agents of the American government in one of their immigrant concentration camps. Tell that to a woman who's had her uterus removed in a procedure she didn't understand was happening after being denied counsel or even a translator. You know, I can point out a whole lot of stupid shit on the left right now. That's worse than what you're trying to point out. How about the boy in Los Angeles who was turned into a girl as they tried to give him drugs without his parents' permission that was actually giving him a sex change? And they did it trying to counteract his masculinity, his toxic masculinity. And these aren't even political issues here. So these issues are now turning into individuals who did something that is now somehow being held against politicians. It's not how it works. But anyway, Lepore uses a Baxley Nazi analogy, the way my parents told me to eat my vegetables because other kids were starving. But I doubt she'd make that argument to the face of a person who has been on the receiving end of Miller's ethnic cleansing ideation. Wow. Oh, ethnic cleansing ideation. Oh boy. Cruelty is not an acceptable policy outcome from the... This video is getting quite lengthy, isn't it? I didn't expect... I actually thought this video... Never mind. Cruelty is not an acceptable policy outcome from the marketplace of ideas. Treating the Trump administration as a group of good faith public servants who merely have political disagreements with their opposition is one of the reasons we have arrived in this hellscape in the first place? The hellscape is over on your side of the aisle. You're the ones losing your fucking minds. We haven't... Our side of the aisle hasn't really changed. Your side of the aisle is gone fucking Lulu. But hey, you could keep trying to say it's our side of the aisle. The Bush administration tortured people. Oh, here we go. The Bush administration tortured people and waged war against foreign nations based on false pretenses. I agree. The Bush administration did wage a war on false pretenses. And who voted for that war? Joe Biden, who recently brought our troops home from bad wars that had no pretenses? Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the first president that hasn't started a new war, and Donald Trump is the first president to actually bring our fucking troops home. God. Without fear of retribution, the Trump administration has come along and waged war against our own nation on the theory that being cruel to brown people and people living in blue states is just a political choice. I'm speechless. Some of this stuff is too stupid to even reply to. If we don't hold the Trump administration accountable, what will the next Republican administration do? Oh boy, who will the next group of people? Republicans decide it's okay to kill or let die in the name of electoral politics. Maybe it'll be the historians. Lepore should check out what the Republicans are trying to do to the 1619 Project. Yeah, 1619 Project. Horrible frickin' bullshit that hates our country, that's spreading fucking entirely fake and false narrative. But you idiots on the left believe that bullshit. You eat it up like it's some sort of gospel. You're morons. I don't even know what to say anymore. The entire left is a bunch of morons. Half this country, over 100,000, or excuse me, I'm Joe Biden. Over 100 million fucking morons in this country, evidently. Before she naively suggests that people will even be allowed to read history should Republican administrations get their way. You're the ones trying to change history. You're the ones tearing down our statues. We must hold the perpetrators of Trumpism accountable, otherwise we won't ever be able to move forward. That's what Obama missed. I hope Biden, should we ever be so lucky, doesn't make the same mistake. And for the love of God, while this is an op-ed by one lunatic by the name of Ellie Mistel, she's not the only lunatic. There are tons of other articles that read just like this from a ton of other completely unhinged radical leftists that actually think that a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to recover from Trump, to hold his supporters accountable, is what this country needs. Please, if there was ever a video that you've watched the entirety of on my channel, please let this one sink into your head. For the love of God, if you're an independent and you're somehow still on the fence, and you're still on the fence after reading this bullshit, get off the fence. We need to save our country. This is nothing but it's a dystopian nightmare. It's in 2019, had somebody said that I would be sitting here on 10/21/2020 feeling like this, I would have said bullshit. I would not have believed the country could have spiraled out of control this quickly. But we have. And they're on the left side of the aisle. If you're not seeing this, you're blind. Please, for the love of God, if you're independent, wake up. Do your research. Stop watching Wolf Blitzer. Stop watching CNN. Stop watching Rachel Maddow. And actually get some actual news from somewhere other than the mainstream media complex. So you can see how our country is literally being torn apart right now from the inside out by these unhinged, crazy people. I mean, crazy people. There's nothing sane about this entire article. There's not a sane word in it. It should scare you. It scares me. Anyway, I'm James Johnson. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to sleep after reading this. Hopefully you don't enjoy this story. But yeah. Anyway, I'm James Johnson, aka Sulfurblade. This is my content. Hopefully you didn't enjoy this story. If so, please leave a like and subscribe. And until the next time, all, peace.